Hi everybody, it's Beth, and today I'm making a light up snowman. I used 2 of these plastic snow globes, this hat ornament, some faux snow, this black and white scarf, all of those came from Dollar Tree. These little snowman stickers came from Amazon, some ribbon, school glue, and hot glue, and also some fairy lights. So what I did was opened up each of the snow globes, poured some of the Elmer's glue inside, just used a sponge brush to cover the entire inside. You didn't need to cover the rim, just the inside of the entire bowl. You can use Mod Podge for this. I just had this big thing of school glue and it works just the same. So I filled them in entirely, making sure every spot was covered, and then just kind of took out the excess and wiped it on a paper towel. And then once I had it completely covered, I took the faux snow and I did it over just a paper plate just to catch all the excess. So I just shook it and moved it around, spinning it just to get that faux snow covering all of the glue that I put inside. And then once I had it completely covered, I just dumped out the excess onto that plate. And then I repeated that whole process with the second snow globe. And after I was done with both of them, I just set them aside and let them sit and dry overnight. And then the next day I went back and I took my hot glue gun, got it nice and hot, and I did not push any glue through here. I just pressed the hot glue gun to the top center of one of the snow globes just to melt the plastic, and then just took a paintbrush. I had to do it a couple times. I did not get all the way through the first time. It doesn't take very long. You can do it this way or you can use a drill. So I just poked a nice hole in there, and the one with the hole will be your bottom of the snowman. Opened up my fairy lights and pushed it through that hole, and then bunched up about half of the string of lights and put it in the top snow globe. Put hot glue around the rim, trying not to get it on the lights, and then placing it on top of the snow globe with the hole. And then when you turn the lights on, it'll light up like that. And then I just took the rest of the fairy lights, the other half of the strand, and put them in the bottom snow globe. And then put on one of the covers right on the bottom. So you'll only need one cover that they come with. And then once that was done, I used a set of the face stickers and put them on the top. And again, these I do get from Amazon. It comes with 3 sheets of stickers for around $10, I think. I don't use a Cricut, so this was the best way to get this cute little face on here. You can try to paint it if you want, but I just thought these were really adorable. So I got the stickers and the fairy lights from Amazon. Next, I cut off the end of the scarf. This is from Dollar Tree. And then just cut a nice thick strip just to make sure I had enough for a scarf for around the center of the snowman. You'll want it wide enough that it covers that rim on the center. So then just tied it in a knot. making sure it covers the whole thing. And then I cut off some of the length and cut little slits in the bottom of it just to make it look more like a scarf. And I did that on both sides. I took this piece of black ribbon, making sure that it was wide enough to cover that bottom piece, which is the cover of the snow globe. And then just hot glued it around the bottom. Then I took this snowflake ribbon and hot glued that right over the black ribbon. So then after the ribbon is all done, you'll see that you can still open it and turn the lights on and off. And then the last thing I did was remove the tag and string from the hat ornament and hot glued it right to the top of the snowman. And that is it. I think he turned out so adorable. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I used 3 different size pumpkins from Dollar Tree, an empty spool of ribbon from Dollar Tree, some cardboard, some ticking fabric, some ribbon, some little white berries, white chalk paint, orange, pink, white and black acrylic paint, holographic glitter, Mod Podge, and hot glue. First thing I did was painted all 3 of the pumpkins with the white chalk paint, and I gave them all 2 coats. And next I'm going to be making a hat for my snowman. So I took this empty spool of ribbon, removed the top and bottom, and then I traced out just one of the tops of the spools on a piece of cardboard and just cut those 2 pieces out. And the center of the spool is a little bit larger than I wanted, so I just cut about 1 inch out of it and then pinched it together a little and then hot glued it into place and then just held it there until it was dry. And then once it was completely dry, I traced that shape out on one of those circles I had cut out of the cardboard and then cut out that size circle. And then next I had taken my ticking fabric, and what I need to do is cover all 3 of these pieces of cardboard and the spool in the fabric. So I use Mod Podge to do that. I applied a layer of Mod Podge to the circle and then placed down the fabric and just kind of smoothed it out on there, flipped it over, and then I just cut out most of the excess fabric on there, leaving a little bit so I can fold it over onto the other side because I want to make sure that the sides are covered. And then I just put a little bit more Mod Podge down on the other side and place down the fabric. And so what I needed to do was make sure this sticks down. You won't see most of this side, but I just wanted it to stick down just a little bit. So I just added some more Mod Podge and kind of put it on the little spaces where the fabric would be touching, and then use my heating tool to dry it so it kind of like stuck into place, and then just set that aside. And then for the larger circle, I started pretty much the same way by cutting out a square of ticking fabric a little bit larger than the circle, adding the Mod Podge around the entire circle, and then placing down the ticking fabric. And then doing the same thing, trimming up the excess around the edges and folding it over onto the other side. But this time on this one, I needed another piece of fabric. So I cut it a little bit larger again, placed it down. So the center I had added Mod Podge, so it stuck to the other side. And then I just added hot glue around the edge for this one to stick. So added it around the entire edge, and then trimmed up the excess to get rid of all the excess fabric around this one. Next, I'm covering the spool. So I cut out a piece of fabric a little bit larger than the spool size, added Mod Podge, covering about half of it to start with. Then placed it on the spool itself and on the Mod Podge, pressing it down and then wrapping it around, and then placing the Mod Podge, filling in the rest of the way, and then cutting off the excess. Add a little bit more Mod Podge to the seam, and then place that down and use my heating tool to just dry that seam real quick. And then for the edges where I had the longer pieces, I needed to glue them down. So I just folded out the fabric, put hot glue on the inside of the spool, and then tucked those edges in. So the edges of the spool will be covered with the fabric as well. And I did that to both sides. After I had that done, I put hot glue on one end of the spool, all around the edge, and then hot glued on my little piece of fabric covered circle. And then did the same thing to the other side, hot glue around the rim, and then glued that one down to the larger cardboard circle, trying to get it as centered as possible. And that makes your little hat. And then I wanted a little bit of ribbon around the rim, so I just used this green fabric I had, or it's like a fabric ribbon almost, and I just glued that around the rim. And then next I took some Garland from Dollar Tree and a couple little berries and hot glued those to the front of the brim of the hat. And then I wanted to give the pumpkin a little sparkle, so I took the holographic glitter, which that I get from Hobby Lobby, and I covered all 3 pumpkins entirely with that, just a quick coat of that on each. And it does dry clear, just gives a little bit of a glitter layer to each of them. And then after they were dry, I took the smallest pumpkin and I needed to draw a face. So I drew 2 little circles. It's kind of hard to see on the video. 2 circles, kind of a sideways rounded triangle. And then I took the black acrylic paint, filled in my circles with a very small brush. And then I took the back of the paintbrush and dabbed it in the paint and then made little dots along the bottom of the pumpkin for the mouth. Just kind of making them come into a curve to make it look like a smile. And then just dried those so when I paint the nose, I won't smudge them. And then took my orange acrylic paint and filled in the nose. And for all of these, I ended up drying and doing a second coat as well. Next, I took a pink acrylic paint and a stencil brush and just lightly dabbed on a couple little spots on the cheeks. So it just kind of looked like he had some rosy cheeks. And then I drew a couple little eyebrows right above the eyes, just angling them a little downward. Dried it again real quick with my heating tool. Taking the back of my paintbrush in the white acrylic paint and just making dots inside the eyes. And then a thin paintbrush in the white, making little lines next to those. And then I took the middle pumpkin, the second smallest, and put 3 little buttons. So I was going to paint them at first. I decided to add in some black buttons. Thought it would just look better. And then I just had to hot glue everything together. Took my largest pumpkin, put hot glue on the top of that. Hot glued on my middle pumpkin with the buttons. And then the pumpkin with the face. Just making sure to line up my face and the buttons. And then the same ribbon that I put on the hat, I used as a little scarf. So I just cut a long piece of that and wrapped it around the top 2 pumpkins and tied it in a knot. And then the last thing I did was hot glued on my hat. And then he's finished. I think he turned out really adorable. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching.